Welcome to Slayer the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock, and welcome to another edition of Sabbath Sunday. This is where Darren and I get together with you and we talk all things Black Sabbath. And the topic for today's video is the second single released from Ozzy's upcoming new album, Patient Number 9. The song is called Degradation Rules, and this was one we were anticipating because Tony Iommi is on this track. Ozzy's Patient Number 9 album has a bunch of different musicians. It features a bunch of different guitar players. The song Patient Number 9, which we reviewed, I think 2 Sabbath Sundays ago, had Jeff Beck on it. So this one, Degradation Rules, has Tony Iommi on it. Darren, what do you think of the song? Just came out today, so we've probably, I've given it maybe 5 to 7 listens or so far. So this is a very fresh take on this for both of us. But what are your thoughts, Darren?
Okay, so same situation as last time when Patient Number 9 came out. I was driving, planned it so that I would be in the right place at the right time. So Ozzy's Boneyard premiered the song at 11:45, and who's the guy that he usually talks to? Is the guy from Billy Idol's band, the English guy?
I have no idea. I've never heard that
never
show.
Heard? Okay, well, it's Ozzy. It's called Ozzy Speaks or Ozzy Talks, and he talks to this guy. I think his name's Billy. I don't know what his name is actually, but I guess he's one of Ozzy's friends. So the two of them chit chat. I got about 10 minutes into that, and then they premiered the song, and right away I thought it was really, really cool. I mean, you could hear Tony. It's Tony's guitar. It's his style of playing. It's a pretty cool riff. It's not too different from something you'd hear on 13. It seems to me like when it's Tony working with Ozzy, something has been, there's a precedence that's been set where he has to or he generally plays something that sounds very vintage, like in and around the time that Ozzy was in the band. I wish he wouldn't do that. I wish he would play new Iommi ideas and let Ozzy do his thing against them. But nevertheless, it's a pretty cool riff. Like I said, it's something that sounds like it could have come off of 13. But what makes it cool is that Ozzy's voice sounds really good. I like his melody. It's a no frills affair. It's a pretty simple melody, chorus, verse, chorus type song structure. I was hoping as the song went along, there'd be a cool bridge part where maybe another riff would be introduced, because the riff itself isn't really that great. It's okay. It's kind of stock. But I like Ozzy's melody, and I like the structure of the song, as simple as it is. There is one part, and I think it's like around the 2-minute mark or 2.5-minute mark, where it goes into a very similar progression, very similar to Fairies Wear Boots. It's kind of a swing, and Chad Smith is just, he's kind of clumsy with it. I wish he would swing a little bit more. It took me a minute to figure out what they were doing. And also the production was a little bit, it kind of convoluted things a bit as far as like being able to hear exactly what was going on there and the rhythm part of it. But it was, after a few listens, I could tell that it was like a swing, Fairies Wear Boots type of a riff, just a variation from basically the riff that's all throughout the song the entire time. Chad Smith kind of like, he doesn't really swing during that part, and he should. I mean, I guess I'm used to hearing more of a Bill Ward type of approach to that, and I wish he would have done that, but he didn't. And it makes it kind of hard to figure out what's going on. Also, the production is a little bit, it seems like it's kind of flat. There's not a lot of dynamics going on, which isn't surprising. I mean, that's kind of what, I've grown to expect from an Andrew Watt studio situation. But the good things about the song, like I said, it's kind of a no frills affair. It's pretty Sabbathy. It's a good melody, and of course, the main thing you're going to notice when you hear it is that Ozzy brings out the harmonica, and that's another nod to vintage Sabbath. So I mean, it's pretty. Yeah, it might be a little bit formulated, but it works. It's cool. It's fun. The subject matter, man, it's it's kind of cringy. it's a pretty gosh, I don't know how to describe it. Well, I mean, it has a sexual uh, reference. You know, there's a reference to red tube, and it's one of those things where if you know, you know. um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it gets out. What's cool about it is when with Ordinary Man, everything seemed to follow sort of a sentimental uh, plot line. This, for the two songs into it, is definitely pretty removed, especially with this song, Degradation Roll. There's nothing sentimental about this. You know, it may be slightly autobiographical with Ozzy. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like it's written from the first person. It's like he's got some experience with this subject matter. But you know, it's not in the sentimental tear jerking mode that jerking something else maybe. But that's not appropriate. What am I doing? Anyway, um, yeah, so I mean, we're getting away from that sentimental type of vibe that he got across in Ordinary Man. We're getting into like more of like the edgier Ozzy, and I think that's pretty cool. I'm ready for that. I kind of felt like Ordinary Man was setting things up for like his he was going to die soon. It was sort of like it was kind of melancholy in a way where you know, it seemed like he was foreshadowing his own death or something. And you know, indications about his health and things like that. It sort of seemed to be pointing in that direction. But here we are. You know, it was 2 years later or something. I think it's at least a year, and we're moving back into familiar Ozzy territory. So I think it's cool. Yeah, I like it. It's good. I think I like it better than Patient Number 9. I'll say that.
I was a little thrown off when I first heard it, I guess, because anticipating Tony Iommi being on it, I was sort of thinking we might get something a little bit darker, a little doomier. I think back to when I heard the first song off of 13, End of the Beginning. And was that no, they released God is Dead. That was the first single from that album. Even that song, you know, was pretty dark. It was pretty heavy. Uh, so I was expecting, like, art, if you're going to have Tony Iommi on this, he's going to be doing something heavy. And so it threw me off a little bit because, like you said, it's kind of a fun song. It's a bluesy song. It's funny you mentioned the drums because I can't tell you a single thing about the drums. It's like I don't, just nothing about them stood out to me. Maybe I was just listening to other things. Maybe they're too far in the background or something, but I just don't remember anything about the drums. And I think part of that is what you were talking about, the congested mix and everything. Although I will say that Robert Trujillo has some nice little bass runs and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So that was kind of fun.
yeah.
That
Good
was,
bass in it. Yeah.
yeah, that was fun to hear. And it gave it sort of an old school jammy Sabbath vibe to it. So once I got past the disappointment, that was the first thing, like, okay, this isn't what I was expecting or sort of hoping for. And then I had to get past the lyrics. The lyrics are a little, you know, they are what they are, I guess. I mean,
They are what they
you
are.
talked about them. It seems a little too obvious, you know, like, whereas when he did something like No Bone
Yeah,
Movies,
a little
it
more
was a lot
subtle.
more, yeah, you know, I think it's sort of the same theme, if you will, but No Bone Movies is a lot more creative of a take on this topic,
Yeah,
shall we say. Uh, the harmonica is kind of cool. Again, it throws it back to bluesy old Sabbath. I listened to it a couple times in the morning and was kind of left like, I don't know what to make of this. And then I came back to it a couple hours later and I was enjoying it and I thought it was fun. And it made me think that if Black Sabbath's 13 album, this feels more natural to me than pretty much everything off of the 13 album. I mean, I don't want to rehash the 13 album. We've done videos on that here on Sabbath Sunday. You can check that out. And we've talked about how, at least I feel, and I know you agree to also, that 13 was a little contrived. You know, it was a little bit forced, if you will, into a certain sound. This sounds like Ozzy's just having fun. And that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that it feels natural. It doesn't feel forced. I was a little nervous that, all right, if they have Tony Iommi on this, are they going to pick something that sounds very Black Sabbath like? And I don't think this does, only except that it has sort of that bluesy upbeat vibe. So it's interesting. I think I still like Patient Number 9 a little better. I like the melody lines in Patient Number 9, but this has a fun kind of no bone movies vibe to it. I really like Iommi's solo. I kind of wish she had taken another round in the solo. It kind of comes by in and out kind of quickly, but and last time we spoke about Patient Number 9, we were questioning and wondering, are these guitar players coming in and just playing solos, and the rhythm parts are all Andrew Watt? And you can hear that this is Tony Iommi's guitar. Yeah. I mean, on Patient Number 9, I can't really tell that it's Jeff Beck playing the rhythm guitar. During the solo, maybe, but and we talked about this. Jeff Beck is a person that does a lot of different things, so it's hard to sort of nail down Jeff Beck because he does so many things very well. Fusion, more shreddy type guitar. If he can do anything. But this sounds like Iommi. In fact, the opening riff sounds like, and I haven't gone back to 13, but there's a song on 13, da da ba 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 ba. It has like that same kind of thing, and the guitar tone is similar to the 13 guitar tone. So that was nice. I was worried that we wouldn't be able to really tell that these guitar players were just going to come in and play solos. And it doubly worried me since the last time we talked about Patient Number 9. I saw an interview with Zach. I tried to find it before this episode. I couldn't find it again, where he says something like he played rhythm guitar on, he doesn't really necessarily say all the songs, but it sounds like he played doubled up on things and stuff like that. And that made me nervous. Like, is just going to be these guys coming in and soloing, and outside of the solo, you're not going to be able to tell that it was that guitar player. Yeah. But I don't think that's the case here. This sounds like Iommi riffs. It's Iommi's guitar tone a la 13 era. And yeah, it's cool. It's fun. Strange little side note. I've been listening to it on Apple Music, and you can follow the lyrics. When the lyrics are over, it always shows you who wrote the song. And I'm assuming that this is just an error, because it just lists Andrew Watt, Chad Smith, Robert Trujillo, and Ozzy. Iommi's name isn't mentioned in the writing credits. I'm assuming that that's just a typo error, because it sounds like Iommi riffs. I highly doubt that Iommi would, this is Tony Iommi here. He doesn't need to play anybody else's riffs. That's almost like an insult. Right. You don't ask Tony Iommi, hey, Tony, can you play this riff that I wrote? No, you don't do that. Don't disrespect the Godfather.
Yeah. Speaking of the riff, I was just thinking, it actually reminds me more of something off of the Heaven and Hell, the Devil You Know album, more than I think 13. Particularly or specifically the song Fear. It kind of has that bouncy, I'm thinking of the right song. It has more of that Heaven and Hell album, what Tony was doing on
The Devil You Know.
Yeah, The Devil You Know. It has more of that than the 13. But yeah, I mean, it's a short song, but yeah, it gets to the point pretty quickly. And again, I have to say, I mean, I was listening, like I said, I was listening to Ozzy's Boneyard and Ozzy Talks portion of the show. I mean, it's really hard to understand what he's saying. His voice is so, I mean, you would think that he has some sort of mental handicap, and I guess he kind of does. I mean, he's been through a lot. It's like the reference a line in one of the Cheech and Chong movies. He's been through a lot in a relatively short amount of time. But anyway, he could, he's barely I mean, he's audible, but his voice is indistinguishable. I mean, I really have to strain my ears to hear what he's saying. But as soon as he sings, he's very articulate, and the vocals don't sound like they're saturated with effects, and I'm sure there's effects added, And I'm sure there's some auto tune, but it's not noticeable to me
Yeah,
anyway.
which is a relief from the what's his name, the guy that did the Black Rain and Scream. Who
Oh
was the
yeah,
producer? What was that
I
producer's
forget his
name?
name, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
he
really
just
distracting.
saturated everything with effects and
Yeah,
auto tune and stuff like that,
I think that
and
was his technique. I think that was part of
yeah, the
the
sound that he
execution
was going for.
production of it. So
Kevin
and
Churko.
yeah, right. And that heavily saturated with effect uh, voice vocal track can really be distracting, and I'm glad that it doesn't have that. It sounds like Ozzy, and he sounds better than he has. He sounds better than he does on Ordinary Man. I think on Ordinary Man for the majority of the album, he sounds a little bit feeble, um, and he sounded uh, really affected on 13 and in a lower octave for most of the album. Still in a higher range, but more on the lower octave of the higher range, if that makes sense. With this particular song, and I guess you could say the same for Patient Number 9. He seems to be more on the higher end of a mid range for Ozzy. He's certainly not turning in a Sabotage type of, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
1975 performance, but he's doing damn good for as old as he is and as many miles as he has on him. And you know, they're having, well, I guess he probably recorded it. I think he did record it prior to his recent surgery, but even still, I mean, prior to his surgery, I mean, his health was in pretty bad shape. You know, I mean, you look at Oz, you see those pictures that came out post COVID.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He looked like he was on death's doorstep, but you
yeah.
hear him in this song, man, and he sounds great.
Yeah, he
And
does, and it does seem like yeah, it does seem like his voice is sounding strong. It sounds modern, but it doesn't sound modern in a you know, overly processed, effecty
yeah,
kind of way.
no,
The
it's not over the
band
top.
sounds right. You know, it sounds like there's some kind of band chemistry going on here, whereas during the Kevin Churko era, it sounded like anybody could have played on those songs. It sounded like it was cut and pasted and
Yeah,
pro
kind of
tooled
generic.
and computered and stuff. Yeah, it was really sort of sucked the life out of
And
a
this
lot of it. But
and this sounds more when you reference to Kevin Churko and you're talking about Black Rain and what was the album before or the album after that? Like,
Scream,
Scream. It sounded kind of generic. It sounded like they were putting Ozzy's voice over something that was just written by other. Well, everything's
yeah,
always written by other people, but I do think Ozzy is predominantly responsible for the melodies. Even if someone else writes the lyrics, I think they're based off of Ozzy's melodies. With those two records, especially, it seemed like it got into kind of a um, very vague. Is it really Ozzy? I can hear his voice, but there was nothing that sounded like anything Ozzy had ever really done before. With these two songs so far, it's sounding more familiar. It's sounding like, okay, yeah, this is Ozzy. I mean, I can relate as an Ozzy fan. You know, I can relate more to this than I can the more recent stuff he's done, and that would include 13. So I'm optimistic, and like I said the last time, I'm anxious to hear these songs in their context on the
yeah,
album. I think I'm really going to like where this one lands on the album. And we also
yeah,
have another Tony Iommi song to look forward to. And hopefully,
yeah,
maybe it is like you described. Maybe it is more doomy,
yeah,
something like something off like the end of the beginning or God is Dead or something like that. I'm cool with doomy Iommi. I like, you know, I'd like to hear him do something more like in a mid tempo, you know, type of riff. You know, I mean, he's a
yeah.
master of the doom metal riff, but I've heard enough of that. I'd like to hear something a little bit I don't know, a little bit more rocking. Like to hear some rockin' Iommi riffs. You know,
Yeah.
good at that too. You know,
Yeah, and I agree. When this whole thing comes out, this could be a song that fits really nicely on the record. A fun, you know, I don't want to say sort of like the same thing the way No Bone Movies functions on Blizzard of Oz. It's a fun rocker, and it sits well. If the whole album was like that, it would be too much. But to have one
yeah.
song like this on the record could add a nice, different feel to things. So
The main difference between that and this is that this is darker. No Bone Movies had a more, you know, a playful,
Yeah.
up-tempo kind of a rocking thing, kind of tongue in cheek. This almost gets into some dark territory. I mean, it might be a spoiler, but I think everybody who's watching this has already heard the song by now. The mention of asphyxiation,
Yeah.
autoerotic asphyxiation. Obviously, people have died, so
Yeah.
it's into a darker uh, territory than no bone movies, which would just predominantly seem to be watching X-rated movies and you know and what have you. But this seems like it's more on like a darker vibe. And I mean, where we are right now versus where we were in 1980 kind of stands to reason, I guess. Would it really be as effective? Would it really be as tongue in cheek if you approached it from a more frivolous, lighthearted, no bone movies type of thing?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. And we don't know where Ozzy is with this. I mean, we talking about some of his demons from the past. That this could have something to do maybe with Ozzy's sexual addiction. Obviously, he got in a little bit of trouble there a few years back when he was he cheated on his wife with the hairdresser. And I was watching him coming out of someplace. He was walking and he had like a Pomeranian dog in his hand, and
Yeah.
like hunched over. And I'm like, "Yeah, man, you go, Oz." Didn't think you had it in you, but apparently he does.
Wow.
But anyway, so like when I said it doesn't seem to come from an autobiographical place. Maybe it actually does. It's just in a different sentiment than Ordinary Man. Ordinary Man was something that
Yeah.
it was kind of led you to rally for him. Especially with the Elton John thing, and I'm just an and then the sentiment overall was I'm an ordinary man.
Right.
Here it's like he's kind of like getting back into that demonic Prince of Darkness type of
Yeah.
persona, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. That's
fun.
cool.
Fun.
All right. Well, there you go. There's some quick thoughts on the new Ozzy song. You guys out there, let us know what you think in the comments down below. And we're September 9th, I think the album is
Yeah.
due.
September
So
9th.
I'm guessing we'll probably get maybe two more, advanced release songs. I would imagine at least one more, but maybe two. So we'll
I
be
think
here for you as they come out, and we'll be here certainly when the album comes out. A lot of people will be talking about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think what I've been reading in the comments when I've been looking at the video, there's a couple different videos. There's one conceptual video and there's just one static image of the album cover. But it seems like so far it's been pretty well received. People have been responding positively to the song. So, I mean, like I said, I liked Patient Number 9. I think I gave it like a 7 out of 10. I'm going to go a little higher with this one. I'm going to give it an 8, maybe an 8.5. I don't know. Maybe I give it an 8.5 because I'm pretty sure that where it lands in the context of the album, I think it's going to have a pretty good placement. Even if the song before isn't quite as good, I think that it has a potential to be something that I'll look forward to. And at this point, we've got 2 songs that we like so far. Not blown away by them, but pretty favorable scores overall. I hope it continues. I hope that they at least stay consistent with what we've heard so far, and there isn't like some awful Black Rain type or Scream type
Yeah.
stuff going on.
Yeah.
If we continue with this pattern, I think we'll have a good album. And I'm looking forward to that. So.
All right. Well, we'll be here with all you guys out there, everybody out there, every step of the way leading up to this new Ozzy album. So let us know what you guys think in the comments down below with the new song. And we'll see you at the next Sabbath Sunday.